Laughter echoes through the grand amphitheater of the Galactic Council as Jesse Bell, the human representative, steps onto the arena floor. The annual strength assessment competition is in full swing, and the alien spectators can't contain their mirth at the sight of the muscular but comparatively small human male. Their mockery is palpable, a stark contrast to the reverent silence that greeted Celeste, the towering Saurian champion with iridescent scales, who easily dominated the early rounds. Jesse approaches the strength testing machine, his face a mask of concentration. The alien audience leans forward, eager to witness what they assume will be a humiliating failure. Instead, a collective gasp ripples through the crowd as Jesse grips the machine's handles and exerts his strength. The display panel flashes, then overloads, shattering the previous record set by Celeste. Stunned silence replaces the laughter. Jesse moves to the next trial, a test of speed. His muscles ripple as he sprints, leaving his alien competitors in the dust. In the endurance challenge, he outlasts even the most tenacious alien athletes. With each feat, the atmosphere in the arena shifts from disbelief to awe. Celeste, her curiosity piqued, approaches Jesse after the competition. Her towering form dwarfs him, but there's a newfound respect in her eyes. "Human," she says, her voice a low rumble. "Your abilities are unexpected. What is the source of your strength?" Jesse meets her gaze, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "We've been preparing," he replies, his voice low. "Genetic engineering, cybernetic enhancements, all in secret. There's a storm coming, and we intend to weather it." Unbeknownst to them, members of the Saurian High Command overhear this exchange. Their scaled faces betray a mix of shock and interest. One of them, a grizzled veteran with battle scars crisscrossing his scales, steps forward. "Human," he growls, "we demand a private audience with you and your delegation. Immediately." In a secluded chamber, away from the prying eyes and ears of the other species, the Saurians reveal a chilling truth. A powerful enemy force approaches the galaxy, a threat they believed only they could face. The revelation of humanity's hidden potential changes everything. "We propose an alliance," the scarred Saurian says, his eyes fixed on Jesse. "Your kind has proven themselves worthy allies in the coming war." Jesse nods, understanding the weight of the moment. "We accept," he says, his voice firm. "Together, we stand a chance." The Saurian High Command turns to Celeste. "You will work closely with the human, integrating our forces. The fate of the galaxy may rest on this partnership." As Jesse and Celeste face each other, there's a spark of something more than just professional respect. Despite their physical differences and initial prejudices, an undeniable attraction begins to form. The once mocked humans and the formidable Saurians now stand as the galaxy's best hope. As Jesse and Celeste begin their collaboration, the true test of their alliance and their growing feelings for each other lies ahead. The galaxy watches, holding its breath, as the unlikeliest of partnerships prepares to face an enemy that threatens all of existence. As Jesse and Celeste left the secluded chamber, the weight of their newfound alliance settled upon their shoulders. The Saurian High Command's revelation of an approaching enemy force had transformed their relationship from competitors to vital partners in the galaxy's defense. "We should begin preparations immediately," Celeste said, her voice low and urgent. "Our forces must be integrated quickly if we're to stand a chance against this threat." Jesse nodded, his mind already racing with possibilities. "Agreed. We'll need to share our technologies, training methods, everything. But first, I think it's time you saw what humanity is truly capable of." Within hours, they boarded a sleek human spacecraft bound for Earth. As they settled into the ship's comfortable quarters, Jesse began to explain the history that had led to humanity's hidden advancements. "A century ago, Earth faced a series of global catastrophes that nearly wiped us out," Jesse said, his eyes distant as he recounted the tale. "We were forced to adapt or perish. Genetic engineering and cybernetic enhancements weren't just scientific pursuits. They were our lifeline." Celeste listened intently, her scaled features softening with understanding. "Your people have endured much," she said softly. As the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, Jesse guided Celeste to a viewing port. The Rocky Mountains came into view, their majestic peaks concealing the true marvel that lay beneath. They disembarked at a nondescript landing pad, but as they approached what appeared to be a simple mountain face, a massive door slid open, revealing a state-of-the-art facility nestled within the mountain itself. "Welcome to Cheyenne Mountain," Jesse said, a hint of pride in his voice, "one of our most advanced military installations." As they toured the complex, Celeste's eyes widened at the array of technology on display. Robotic drones buzzed through the air, their movements precise and coordinated. Soldiers moved with fluid grace, their bodies encased in powered exoskeletons that amplified their strength and speed. In a vast testing chamber, they witnessed a demonstration of energy weapons that could vaporize targets with pinpoint accuracy. Celeste watched, impressed but puzzled. "Your technology is remarkable," she said, turning to Jesse. "But your soldiers, they lack the natural strength of my people." Jesse smiled. "True, we may not have your raw power, but what we lack in brute force, we make up for in adaptability and innovation. Our enhancements allow us to level the playing field, and sometimes even surpass it." As they continued their tour, a shrill alarm suddenly cut through the air. Red lights flashed throughout the complex, and the calm efficiency of the facility erupted into controlled chaos. A tall, stern-faced man in a general's uniform approached them rapidly. "Bell," he said, his voice clipped and urgent. "We've got a situation. General Marcus Steele," he added, nodding briefly to Celeste. "What's happening, sir?" Jesse asked, instantly alert. "Unknown alien fleet detected at the edge of the solar system," Steele reported. "Energy signatures match the threat your Saurian friends warned us about. They're here earlier than we anticipated." Celeste's scales rippled with tension. "How much time do we have?" "Not enough," Steele growled. "We need a plan, and we need it now. You two are our experts on both species' capabilities. I need you to formulate a joint defense strategy, ASAP." Within minutes, Jesse and Celeste found themselves in a high-tech war room, surrounded by holographic displays of the approaching fleet. Human and Saurian leaders joined via secure channels, their faces grim as they assessed the situation. After hours of intense debate and strategic planning, a decision was reached. They would launch a preemptive strike, combining human stealth technology with Saurian firepower. Jesse and Celeste, with their unique understanding of both species' strengths, were the natural choice to lead the mission. As the meeting adjourned, Jesse and Celeste found themselves alone in the war room, the weight of their responsibility pressing down on them. "We should run some combat simulations," Jesse suggested, his voice tight with tension. "Make sure we're in sync before the real thing." Celeste nodded, her eyes meeting his. "Agreed. Let's see what we can do together." They made their way to a state-of-the-art training facility where holographic enemies and environments could be conjured at will. As they faced off against simulated foes, their movements became a deadly dance, human adaptability complementing Saurian strength. The intensity of the training, combined with the stress of their impending mission, created a palpable tension between them. Each stolen glance, each moment of physical contact during their maneuvers, seemed charged with unspoken emotion. During a particularly grueling simulation, their competitive natures flared. What began as a friendly spar quickly escalated, both pushing their enhanced abilities to the limit. They grappled fiercely, neither willing to concede. Suddenly, they found themselves pressed close, breathing heavily, their faces inches apart. The air between them seemed to crackle with electricity. Without conscious thought, they moved closer, their lips meeting in a passionate kiss. For a moment, the universe seemed to fade away. Then abruptly they separated, both flustered and uncertain. "We should focus on the mission," Jesse said, his voice rough. Celeste nodded, her scales flushed with color. "Yes, the mission. That's what matters now." As they threw themselves into the final preparations, the incident in the training room hung between them, unspoken but impossible to ignore. Stolen glances and lingering touches betrayed their growing connection, even as they strove to maintain professionalism. Finally, the day of the launch arrived. Jesse and Celeste stood on the bridge of the advanced stealth ship that would lead the attack, surrounded by a mixed crew of humans and Saurians. As the ship prepared to depart, They exchanged a long look, volumes passing unspoken between them. Whatever the outcome of this mission, they both knew that everything had changed, not just for them, but for the future of human-Saurian relations, and perhaps the galaxy itself. As the ship's engines hummed to life, Jesse took a deep breath, his eyes fixed on the interface. "All stations, report status," he commanded, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. "All stations report green, Commander," came the crisp response from the bridge crew. Jesse nodded, his eyes meeting Celeste's as she stood beside him, her towering form a reassuring presence. "Initiating launch sequence," Jesse announced, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The Shadow Blade hummed to life, its advanced stealth systems engaging as it smoothly detached from the docking bay. As they cleared Earth's atmosphere, the vastness of space stretched out before them. The joint human-Saurian fleet fell into formation behind the Shadow Blade, a testament to the unprecedented alliance forged in the face of a common threat. Jesse felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He glanced at Celeste, noticing the tension in her scaled features. Their earlier moment in the training room hung between them, unspoken but impossible to ignore. "Celeste," Jesse began, his voice low. "About what happened?" She cut him off with a sharp gesture. "We must focus on the mission, Commander. The fate of our peoples hangs in the balance." Jesse nodded, pushing aside his personal feelings. "You're right. Let's review the battle plan one more time." As they pored over the holographic displays, plotting their course to the edge of the solar system, an alert chimed from the sensor station. "Commander," called out Lieutenant Ravi, his cybernetically enhanced eyes scanning the readouts. "We're detecting an anomaly in the nearby asteroid field." Jesse frowned, moving to examine the data. "Could be a scout from the enemy fleet. We can't risk being detected. Celeste, what do you think?" The Saurian's second-in-command studied the readings, her clawed hand tracing the trajectory of the anomaly. "It's too irregular to be a natural phenomenon. We should investigate." "Agreed," Jesse said. "Helm, take us in. Engage full stealth protocols." The Shadow Blade veered towards the asteroid field, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it nearly invisible against the backdrop of space. As they navigated through the dense cluster of space rocks, the tension on the bridge ratcheted up. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared as the main power systems flickered and died. "Report!" Jesse barked, steadying himself against the command chair. "We've lost primary power," Lieutenant Kira shouted from the engineering station. "Switching to emergency systems now." As the backup generators kicked in, casting the bridge in an eerie red glow, Jesse and Celeste exchanged a concerned look. The Shadow Blade, pride of the human fleet, now hung vulnerable in space. "We need to find out what happened," Jesse said, his mind racing through possibilities. "Celeste, I want you with me. We're going EVA." Within minutes, Jesse and Celeste, along with a small team of engineers, were suiting up in the airlock. The stark differences in their physiology were highlighted by their environmental suits. Jesse's sleek and form-fitting, designed to work in tandem with his cybernetic enhancements, while Celeste's was bulkier, accommodating her larger frame and natural armor. As the airlock cycled, Jesse couldn't help but feel a twinge of anxiety. He'd done countless EVAs, but never in such a precarious situation, never with so much at stake. He glanced at Celeste, her reptilian eyes meeting his through their helmet visors. She gave him a slight nod, a gesture of solidarity that steadied his nerves. The outer door slid open, revealing the vast expanse of space. Tethered to the ship, they made their way across the Shadow Blade's hull, magnetic boots keeping them anchored against the smooth surface. As they approached the ship's power core, Jesse's enhanced vision caught sight of something unusual. "There," he said, pointing to a spot where the hull seemed to shimmer slightly. "Something's not right." Celeste moved closer, her superior strength allowing her to easily maneuver in the bulky suit. "I see it," she confirmed. "It appears to be some sort of device, fused to our hull." As they drew nearer, the true nature of the object became clear. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered, a biomechanical construct that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. Tendrils of light snaked from the device into the ship's hull, siphoning power from the Shadow Blade systems. "We need to disable it," Jesse said, reaching for his toolkit. But before he could begin, Celeste's voice crackled urgently through the comm system. "Jesse, movement at 2 o'clock." He whirled around, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to dodge just as an energy pulse sizzled past his helmet. Several small spherical objects had detached from nearby asteroids and were converging on their position. "Defensive formations," Jesse ordered, his training kicking in. The EVA team scrambled to take cover behind the ship's external structures as the alien spheres opened fire. Jesse and Celeste moved in perfect synchronization, their earlier training paying off. Jesse's agility allowed him to weave between the energy blasts, drawing the attackers' fire, while Celeste used her superior strength to provide cover for the rest of the team. As they fought, Jesse couldn't help but marvel at their efficiency as a unit. Human adaptability complemented Saurian power, creating a formidable defense against the alien threat. In the heat of battle, an energy pulse grazed Jesse's suit, causing a small rupture. Alarm bells rang in his helmet as his oxygen levels began to drop. Without hesitation, Celeste moved to shield him, her larger form easily covering his as he fumbled for a patch kit. Their faces were inches apart, separated only by their helmet visors. For a moment, the chaos of the battle faded away, and Jesse found himself lost in Celeste's alien yet captivating gaze. The intensity of the moment caused them both to momentarily lose focus on the fight at hand. It was a lapse that nearly cost them dearly. Taking advantage of their distraction, one of the alien spheres darted past their defenses and latched onto Celeste's suit. The device began to pulse, interfacing with her suit's systems, and, by extension, her own biology. Celeste let out a roar of pain, her normally composed features contorting in agony. Jesse, driven by a surge of protective instinct, grabbed the alien sphere. His cybernetically enhanced muscles strained as he pried the device off her suit, but not before it had transferred a significant amount of data into Celeste's neural implants. With the immediate threat neutralized, Jesse quickly assessed the situation. "Everyone back inside now," he ordered, supporting Celeste as they made their way back to the airlock. As the door sealed behind them and the chamber began to repressurize, Jesse noticed Celeste swaying unsteadily. "Celeste?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. "Are you all right?" She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. Instead, her eyes rolled back and she collapsed to the floor, her body convulsing violently. "Medical team to the airlock, immediately!" Jesse shouted into his comm as he cradled Celeste's head, helpless to do anything but watch as his friend and comrade writhed in pain, fighting an unseen battle within her own mind. Jesse's heart raced as he watched helplessly, his mind frantically searching for a solution. In that moment of desperation, an idea struck him. Drawing on his cybernetic enhancements, Jesse initiated a neural interface with Celeste's implants. It was a risky move, but he saw no other choice. As their minds connected, Jesse felt a rush of alien data flooding his consciousness. The world around him blurred, and suddenly he found himself in a vast, swirling mindscape. Beside him, Celeste's mental projection materialized, her form flickering as she fought against the invading information. "Celeste, focus on my voice," Jesse called out, reaching for her. "We need to organize this data before it overwhelms us." Together, they began to construct mental barriers, channeling the torrent of information into more manageable streams. Jesse's cybernetic enhancements allowed him to create complex data structures, while Celeste's Saurian resilience helped them withstand the psychic onslaught. As they worked, fragments of alien knowledge coalesced into coherent images. Jesse saw vast fleets of biomechanical ships, entire worlds consumed by a spreading darkness, and a collective consciousness that spanned galaxies. "The Void Collective," Celeste whispered, her mental voice tinged with awe and fear. "They seek to assimilate all life in the universe." Jesse felt a chill run through him as he grasped the full scope of the threat they faced. The enemy wasn't just a hostile force. It was a hive mind bent on absorbing every sentient being into its collective. As they delved deeper into the alien data, Jesse and Celeste's minds became more intertwined. Memories flowed between them, Jesse's childhood on Earth, Celeste's rigorous training on the Saurian homeworld. They felt each other's fears, hopes, and unspoken feelings. In this shared mental space, the barriers between human and Saurian fell away. Jessie experienced Celeste's fierce pride in her heritage, her struggle to prove herself in a male-dominated military. Celeste, in turn, felt Jessie's deep-seated loneliness, his search for belonging in a world changed by cybernetic enhancements. Their connection deepened, transcending physical attraction and becoming something more profound. In this moment of ultimate vulnerability, they saw each other completely, accepting every strength and flaw. Suddenly, a surge of data threatened to overwhelm their mental constructs. Jessie felt his grip on reality slipping, his consciousness merging with Celeste's and the alien information. "Jessie! Celeste! Can you hear me?" Dr. Elena Reeves's voice cut through the chaos. "Your neural patterns are destabilizing. I'm initiating emergency disconnect." Before they could respond, Jessie felt a violent wrenching sensation. The mental landscape shattered, and he was thrust back into his physical body. He gasped, his eyes flying open to see the concerned face of Dr. Reeves looming over him. What happened?" Jessie managed to ask, his head pounding. "You've been in a neural link with Celeste for over an hour," Dr. Reeves explained, her voice tense. "We almost lost both of you." Jessie turned his head, relieved to see Celeste stirring on the adjacent medical bed. Their eyes met, and he felt a spark of something, a residual connection. "I can still feel you," Celeste said, her voice a mix of wonder and confusion. Dr. Reeves frowned, running a scanner over both of them. "It seems the neural link has left some kind of psychic imprint. You two appear to have a low-level telepathic connection." Before they could process this new development, alarms blared throughout the ship. Captain Talon's voice came over the intercom. "All senior officers to the bridge immediately. We have a situation." Jessie and Celeste exchanged a look, both knowing what they had to do. Despite Dr. Reeves's protests, they left the medical bay and made their way to the bridge. As they entered, the main view screen showed a chilling sight, the outer colonies under attack. Swarms of biomechanical ships swarmed around human and Saurian outposts, their victims being absorbed into the hive mind. "Report," Jessie commanded, stepping up to the command console. "The Void Collective's vanguard has entered the system." Captain Talon replied grimly. "Our original battle plan is useless against this threat." Celeste stepped forward, her scales still pale from their ordeal, but her voice steady. "We have critical intelligence about the enemy. We need to brief the fleet leadership immediately." As Jessie and Celeste shared their newfound knowledge about the Void Collective, a sense of dread settled over the bridge. The enemy they faced was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. "We need a new strategy," Jessie said, his mind racing. "Something that targets the heart of their hive mind." An idea began to form, born from the alien data they had absorbed and their unique understanding of both human and Saurian capabilities. Jessie outlined a daring plan to infiltrate the Void Collective's flagship and deploy a specialized virus to disrupt their hive mind. The plan was met with skepticism and concern, but as the reports of lost colonies continued to pour in, the Allied leadership realized they had no other choice. "There's one condition," Admiral Zhao said, her holographic image flickering on the screen. "You and Celeste must lead this mission personally. Your combined knowledge and unique connection make you our best chance for success." Jessie and Celeste exchanged a look, their new psychic link allowing them to share a moment of understanding without words. They knew the risks, the enormity of what was being asked of them, but they also knew they were the best hope for both their peoples and perhaps the entire galaxy. "We accept," they said in unison. As the Shadow Blade disengaged from the main fleet, its advanced stealth systems activating, Jessie and Celeste stood side by side on the bridge. Their hands brushed briefly, a silent gesture of support, and something more. Before them lay the heart of the Void Collective's armada, a mass of writhing biomechanical ships that seemed to devour the very light around them. Jessie took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their mission. "All systems ready," Lieutenant Kira reported. "Stealth field at maximum capacity." Jessie nodded, his eyes meeting Celeste's. In that moment, no words were needed. They both knew what was at stake, not just for them, but for the future of human-Saurian relations and the survival of free will in the galaxy. "Take us in," Jessie commanded, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. Let's end this. The Shadow Blade surged forward, invisible and silent, carrying its crew towards the greatest challenge any of them had ever faced. As they penetrated the outer defenses of the Void Collective's fleet, Jesse and Celeste prepared themselves for what lay ahead, their newfound bond giving them strength in the face of overwhelming odds. As the Shadow Blade penetrated deeper into the heart of the Void Collective's armada, Jesse and Celeste felt the weight of their mission intensify. "Approaching the flagship," Lieutenant Kira announced, her voice tense. "Stealth systems holding steady." Jesse nodded, his eyes fixed on the massive biomechanical construct looming before them. "Celeste, let's gear up. It's time." They made their way to the airlock, where the rest of the infiltration team waited. The specially designed exosuit stood ready, a seamless blend of human stealth technology and Saurian armor. As Jesse helped Celeste into her suit, their hands lingered for a moment, their psychic link conveying unspoken words of support and perseverance. Once suited up, Jesse addressed the team. "Remember, we're here to deploy the virus and disrupt their hive mind. Stay alert, stay quiet, and stay alive." With a hiss of depressurization, the airlock opened, and they launched themselves towards the flagship. Jesse led the way, using the intelligence from their shared mental link to guide them to a vulnerable access point on the hull. As they breached the outer defenses, the team found themselves in a nightmarish landscape of pulsating organic matter. Bioluminescent veins snaked across the walls, casting an eerie glow over the twisting corridors. "This way," Celeste whispered, her voice barely audible over the comm. She and Jesse moved in perfect synchronization, their psychic bond allowing them to navigate the labyrinthine interior with uncanny precision. As they pressed deeper into the vessel, a subtle pressure began to build in their minds. Jesse felt it first, a faint buzzing that grew steadily louder. "Celeste," he warned, "they're trying to get in our heads." Celeste nodded, her scales rippling with tension beneath her suit. "I feel it too. Everyone, strengthen your mental barriers." Using their unique connection, Jesse and Celeste created a protective psychic shield around the team. It was taxing, requiring constant concentration, but it kept the alien influence at bay. They encountered their first real resistance as they neared the central core. A group of assimilated drones, once individuals from various alien races, now empty shells serving the collective, blocked their path. "Defensive formation," Jesse called out, his cybernetically enhanced reflexes allowing him to dodge the first wave of attacks. Celeste moved with fluid grace, her saurian strength allowing her to engage multiple opponents at once. Together, they formed a lethal duo, covering each other's weaknesses and exploiting every opening. In the heat of battle, a drone slipped past their defenses, its claws raking across Jesse's exosuit. The material tore, exposing him to the toxic atmosphere. Alarms blared in his helmet as his oxygen levels plummeted. Without hesitation, Celeste was at his side. She applied her suit's emergency sealant to the breach, her movements quick and precise. "I've got you," she said, her voice strained with effort and concern. The sealant held, but Celeste's suit integrity was now compromised. Jesse met her gaze, a mix of gratitude and worry passing between them. There was no time for words. The drones were regrouping for another assault. With renewed commitment, they fought their way through the swarm, finally reaching the central core. Before them loomed a massive, pulsating structure, the heart of the Void Collective's consciousness. As they prepared to deploy the virus, Jesse noticed the damage to their upload device. His heart sank as he realized what needed to be done. "The device is damaged," he said, turning to Celeste. "We'll need to interface directly with the system." Celeste's eyes widened as she understood the implications. "No, Jesse, I'll do it. My mind is stronger." "We'll do it together," Jesse interrupted, taking her hand. "Our bond is our strength. It's the only way." After a moment of tense silence, Celeste nodded. They positioned themselves on either side of the core, preparing for the neural interface. "On three," Jesse said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. 1, 2, 3. They connected to the alien consciousness simultaneously, and the world around them dissolved into chaos. A torrent of alien thoughts and memories assaulted their senses, threatening to drown out their individuality. Jessie fought to maintain focus on uploading the virus, while Celeste used her formidable mental strength to hold back the full force of the collective's will. The strain was immense, and Jessie felt his sense of self beginning to slip away. In desperation, he reached out to Celeste through their link. Their minds intertwined more deeply than ever before, individual memories and personalities merging into something entirely new. This hybrid consciousness confused the collective, creating a momentary weakness. Seizing the opportunity, Jessie pushed through the last of the upload sequence. The virus began its work, destabilizing the hive mind from within. As alarms blared throughout the flagship, Jessie and Celeste struggled to disengage from the alien network. With a final, monumental effort, they tore themselves free, collapsing to the floor of the core chamber. The rest of the team rushed to their aid, but Jessie and Celeste were barely conscious, their minds irrevocably altered by the experience. As they were carried back to the Shadow Blade, neither could shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed, not just in themselves, but in the very nature of human-saurian relations. The ship's engines roared to life, carrying them away from the chaos spreading through the Void Collective's fleet. But for Jessie and Celeste, the true journey, understanding and navigating their new shared consciousness, was only just beginning. The true journey, understanding and navigating their new shared consciousness, was only just starting. As Jessie opened his eyes, he found himself lying on the cold floor of the Void Collective's flagship. Celeste stirred beside him, her scales shimmering in the pulsating, bioluminescent light. Their minds, still intertwined from the neural interface, buzzed with alien thoughts and sensations. "Are you okay?" Jessie asked, but his lips didn't move. The question floated between them, a thought given form in their shared mental space. Celeste's response came as a wave of emotions, confusion, wonder, and a touch of fear. "I'm here," she projected, "but where does I end and you begin?" Before they could explore this new facet of their bond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The virus they had uploaded was working its way through the collective systems, causing chaos in its wake. "We need to move," Jessie thought, pushing himself to his feet. He reached out to help Celeste, their physical touch sending a jolt of shared sensations through their linked minds. As they stood, the rest of their team rushed to their side. Lieutenant Kira's voice crackled over the comm. "Commander, Celeste, status report." Jessie opened his mouth to respond, but found Celeste answering for both of them. "We're operational," she said, her words carrying the weight of their combined experiences. "The virus is deployed. We need to extract immediately." They made their way through the twisting corridors of the flagship, their movements perfectly synchronized. Jessie's enhanced reflexes and Celeste's saurian strength complemented each other, allowing them to navigate the increasingly unstable environment with fluid grace. As they rounded a corner, they encountered a group of aliens stumbling through the hallway. Unlike the mindless drones they had fought earlier, these beings moved with purpose, confusion evident in their eyes. "The virus," Celeste thought to Jessie, "it's freeing them from the collective's control." Among the group, a slender, ethereal being caught their attention. Her skin shimmered with a pale blue light, and her large, almond-shaped eyes fixed on Jessie and Celeste with startling intensity. "You," she said, her voice carrying a strange melodic quality. "You are the ones who broke the chains." Jessie stepped forward, instinctively reaching for Celeste's hand. "I'm Commander Jessie Chen of the Human-Saurian Alliance. We're here to stop the Void Collective. Who are you?" "I am Zixara," the alien replied, her voice echoing in their minds as well as their ears. Was a Calarion empath. The collective used my abilities to strengthen their hive mind." Celeste's scales rippled with empathy. "We can't leave them here," she thought to Jessie. He nodded both physically and mentally. "We'll escort you to our extraction point," Jessie told Zixara and the other freed aliens. "But we need to move quickly. This ship is falling apart." As if to emphasize his point, a violent tremor shook the corridor. Panels tore free from the walls, revealing the pulsating organic matter beneath. "This way," Celeste called, leading the group towards the prearranged extraction point. Jessie brought up the rear, his cybernetically enhanced senses on high alert for any signs of pursuit. They navigated through collapsing sections of the ship, Jesse and Celeste working in perfect tandem to clear obstacles and guide the freed aliens. Their shared consciousness allowed them to anticipate each other's moves, creating a seamless flow of action. As they approached the extraction point, a massive energy surge ripped through the ship. Automated defense systems came online, filling the air with deadly plasma bolts. "Cover!" Jesse shouted, pulling Zixara behind a fallen bulkhead. Celeste's scales darkened as she activated her camouflage abilities, becoming nearly invisible as she darted between cover positions. Using their mental link, Jesse and Celeste coordinated their movements. Jesse's pinpoint accuracy with his sidearm provided covering fire, while Celeste's strength allowed her to clear debris blocking their path. "The shuttle's just ahead," Celeste projected, her thoughts tinged with urgency. "But that barrage is blocking our approach." Jesse's mind raced, processing tactical data at an unprecedented speed. Through their shared consciousness, he and Celeste formulated a plan in seconds. "On my mark," Jesse thought, tensing for action. 3, 2, 1, now! They burst from cover, moving as one. Jesse laid down suppressing fire, his shot striking key points in the defense grid with uncanny precision. Celeste, her movements a blur, used her saurian agility to leap and bound through the gaps in the barrage, creating a path for the others to follow. As they reached the airlock, a familiar voice crackled over their comms. "This is Captain Voss of the Shadowblade. I've got a shuttle docked and ready for immediate evac. What's your status, Commander?" "We're at the airlock with civilians," Jesse replied, his voice strained as he helped the last of the freed aliens through the opening. "Be advised, we have multiple species on board, including a Kalarian empath." "Understood," Voss responded. "Initiating emergency launch sequence. Brace for rapid decompression." The airlock cycled, and they were pulled into the shuttle's interior. Captain Lyra Voss, her face set in iron will, engaged the engines before the door had fully sealed. As the shuttle pulled away from the disintegrating flagship, Jesse and Celeste found themselves pressed together in the cramped space. Their minds, still intimately linked, swirled with the aftermath of their shared ordeal. "What's happening to us?" Celeste thought, her mental voice a mix of wonder and trepidation. Jesse's response came as a jumble of emotions and half-formed ideas. "I don't know," he projected. "But whatever it is, we're in it together." The shuttle shuddered as it dodged debris and stray weapons fire from the confusion of battle outside. Through the viewport, they watched as the Void Collective's fleet fell into disarray, the virus spreading from ship to ship like a digital wildfire. As they approached the Shadowblade, Jesse and Celeste's shared consciousness expanded, taking in the tactical data flooding the shuttle's systems. In that moment, they realized that their ordeal was nowhere near the end. The battle for the galaxy had entered a new phase, and they found themselves at its very center, their minds and bodies irrevocably changed by the encounter with the alien hive mind. The shuttle docked with a metallic clang, and as the doors opened to reveal the familiar interior of the Shadowblade, Jesse and Celeste knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Their journey into this new frontier of shared consciousness was just beginning, and the fate of two species, perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested on their ability to navigate this unprecedented mental landscape. Bond. The shuttle's sudden deceleration as it docked with the Shadowblade jolted Jesse and Celeste from their shared reverie. As the airlock hissed open, their intertwined minds struggled to process the flood of sensory input. Captain Voss's voice cut through the haze. "Medical team to the docking bay! Stat!" Jesse tried to stand, but his legs buckled beneath him. Celeste caught him, her own movements unsteady. Their shared consciousness reeled, unable to differentiate between their individual bodies. "Easy there, Commander," Lieutenant Kira said, supporting Celeste as she guided them both towards the waiting medical team. The last thing Jesse registered before losing consciousness was the worried face of Dr. Elena Reeves hovering over him, her lips moving in words he couldn't hear. Darkness enveloped them, but it wasn't the empty void of unconsciousness. Instead, Jesse and Celeste found themselves adrift in a sea of memories and alien knowledge. Fragments of their own lives intermingled with glimpses of countless assimilated civilizations. "Jesse?" Celeste's mental voice echoed through the strange dreamscape. "I'm here," he responded, his thoughts taking shape as a shimmering humanoid form. "At least, I think I am." Celeste's consciousness coalesced nearby, her saurian features blurred and indistinct. "What's happening to us?" Before Jessie could answer, a wave of foreign memories crashed over them. They saw star systems they'd never visited, experienced lives they'd never lived. The vastness of the Void Collective's accumulated knowledge threatened to overwhelm their sense of self. "We need to stay focused," Jessie projected, reaching out to Celeste. As their mental forms touched, a surge of comfort and familiarity anchored them against the tide of alien thoughts. Time lost all meaning as they drifted through the shared mindscape, alternately struggling against and marveling at their new state of being. Occasionally, they caught glimpses of the outside world, snippets of worried conversations, the beep of medical equipment, the sensation of touch. "Jessie? Celeste? Can you hear me?" The voice was faint but familiar. Dr. Reeves. "We're picking up increased neural activity," another voice said. "I think they're responding." Jessie and Celeste turned their attention outward, drawn by the voices. Slowly, the dreamscape around them began to shift and change. The chaotic swirl of memories coalesced into a more structured environment, a surreal blend of human, saurian, and Void Collective imagery. "There," Celeste said, pointing to a shimmering distortion in their mental realm. "I think that's the way out." As they approached the distortion, two new presences entered their shared consciousness. One was instantly recognizable as Dr. Reeves, her analytical mind a beacon of familiarity. The other was alien, yet somehow comforting, a telepathic signature unlike anything they had encountered before. "I am Zixara," the alien presence introduced itself. "We're here to help you." With gentle guidance from Dr. Reeves and Zixara, Jessie and Celeste began the arduous process of disentangling their merged consciousness. They learned to access the vast stores of knowledge gained from the Void Collective, while rediscovering the boundaries of their individual selves. As they worked, flashes of the outside world became more frequent and coherent. They caught glimpses of the Shadowblade's medical bay, heard snippets of conversation about diplomatic tensions and a galactic council delegation. "You're doing well," Dr. Reeves encouraged them. "We're going to try to bring you out soon. The situation out here is complicated." Before they could inquire further, alarms blared through their shared mindscape. The sound was distant but unmistakable, the Shadowblade's alert system. "We need to wake up," Jessie said, his perseverance strengthening their shared will. Celeste nodded, her mental form becoming more distinct. "Whatever's happening out there, they need us." Together, they pushed towards consciousness, their merged minds working in perfect synchronization. As they neared the threshold between their mental realm and the physical world, they felt a strange sensation, as if their very beings were being reshaped. Jessie opened his eyes to the harsh light of the medical bay. He blinked, his vision swimming into focus. Beside him, Celeste stirred, her scales shimmering with an intensity he'd never seen before. "Welcome back," Dr. Reeves said, her relief palpable. "How do you feel?" Jessie opened his mouth to respond but found himself momentarily speechless. His skin tingled with a strange energy, and when he looked down at his hands, he saw a faint, iridescent sheen reminiscent of Celeste's scales. Celeste sat up, her movements fluid but uncertain. "We feel different," she said, her voice carrying an echo of Jessie's thoughts. As they both stood, Jessie noticed that Celeste's form had changed subtly, becoming more humanoid while still retaining her saurian features. Their eyes met, and he saw that hers now swirled with the same patterns of blue and gold as his own. Before they could fully process these changes, Admiral Cora Thax burst into the medical bay, her expression grim. "Commander Celeste, I apologize for the abrupt awakening, but we have a situation. An unknown fleet has just entered the system, and their technology bears a striking resemblance to the Void Collective's." Jessie and Celeste exchanged a look, their newly merged consciousness already processing the implications. Without a word, they moved in perfect unison towards the door. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Dr. Reeves asked, concern evident in her voice. Jessie paused at the threshold, Celeste by his side. He felt the weight of their shared knowledge, the power of their unique bond, and the urgency of the moment. "We're ready," they said in unison, their voices harmonizing in a way that sent a shiver through the room. With determined steps, they made their way to the bridge, their transformed bodies drawing startled looks from the crew. As the doors slid open, they were met with a scene of controlled chaos. View screens displayed the approaching unknown fleet, while the assembled leaders of the Human-Saurian Alliance and the Galactic Council turned to regard them with a mix of hope and apprehension. Jesse and Celeste stepped forward, their linked minds already formulating strategies based on their vast repository of knowledge. As they surveyed the tactical displays, they knew that the true test of their newfound abilities was about to begin. As they surveyed the tactical displays, they knew that the true test of their newfound abilities was about to unfold. The bridge crew stared in stunned silence at Jesse and Celeste's transformed appearance. Jesse's skin shimmered with an iridescent sheen, while Celeste's form had become more humanoid, her scales gleaming with an otherworldly intensity. Their eyes, now swirling with patterns of blue and gold, scanned the room with eerie synchronization. Admiral Cora Thax broke the silence, her voice taut with urgency. "Commander, Celeste, we have an unknown fleet entering the system. Their technology bears striking similarities to the Void Collectives." General Marcus Steele stepped forward, gesturing to the main view screen. "Our long-range scans indicate a force of at least 50 vessels, all heavily armed." Jesse and Celeste moved as one, their hybrid consciousness processing the information at lightning speed. They approached the central holographic display, their hands moving in perfect unison to manipulate the data. "We're detecting quantum entanglement signatures consistent with Void Collective tech," Jesse said, his voice carrying an echo of Celeste's thoughts. Celeste continued seamlessly. "But the fleet formation suggests a level of strategic thinking beyond the Collective's typical hive mind approach." As they interfaced with the Shadowblade systems, their merged minds delved deeper into the data streams. The bridge crew watched in awe as the holographic display erupted with complex calculations and tactical analyses far beyond the ship's normal capabilities. Suddenly, Jesse and Celeste spoke in unison, their voices harmonizing in an unsettling chorus. "We've identified the unknown fleet. They're the Nexari, former thralls of the Void Collective." Admiral Thax's eyes widened. "Former thralls? How is that possible?" "They've repurposed the assimilation technology," Jesse explained, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Celeste picked up the thread. "The Nexari have retained their individuality while harnessing the Collective's power. It makes them even more dangerous." Before anyone could respond, the communications officer called out, "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Nexari fleet. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." "On screen," Thax ordered. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a Nexari leader. Its form was a disturbing blend of organic and mechanical parts, with multiple cybernetic eyes that seemed to look everywhere at once. "Attention, Human-Saurian Alliance and all liberated races," the Nexari's voice boomed, a cacophony of synthesized tones. "We are the rightful inheritors of the Void Collective's power. Surrender now and submit to our rule, or face annihilation." Counselor Vexthor of the Galactic Council stepped forward, his tentacles writhing with agitation. "Perhaps we should attempt a diplomatic solution. If they were once thralls, they might be reasoned with." Jesse and Celeste exchanged a glance, their shared consciousness reaching the same conclusion simultaneously. "No," they said in unison. "It's a trap." Their hands flew over the controls, bringing up new tactical displays. "The Nexari fleet is moving into attack positions," Jesse explained. "They're using the transmission to buy time," Celeste added. Admiral Thax's face hardened. "All ships, battle stations, prepare for imminent hostile contact." The words had barely left her mouth when the first wave of Nexari energy weapons slammed into the Allied fleet's shields. The shadow blades shuddered under the impact. "Return fire!" General Steele bellowed. "All ships, engage at will!" As the space around them erupted into chaos, Jesse and Celeste's hybrid minds kicked into overdrive. They interfaced directly with the Shadowblade's tactical systems, their merged consciousness expanding to encompass the entire Allied fleet. "Cruiser Group Theta, adjust vector to 27 Mark IV, Jesse called out, his voice strained with the effort of coordinating multiple ships simultaneously. Celeste's scales rippled with intensity as she added, "Saurian battle carriers, execute maneuver Dracosh 9, target Nexari support ships." Their unprecedented level of coordination allowed the Allied fleet to move with a fluidity and precision never before seen in battle. Nexari attacks that should have decimated entire squadrons were met with last-second evasive maneuvers, while Allied counterstrikes found weaknesses in the enemy's defenses with unerring accuracy. But the strain of managing the entire battle was taking its toll. Beads of sweat formed on Jesse's brow, while Celeste's scales began to pale. Their breathing became labored, and sharp pains lanced through their heads with each new command issued. "Jesse, Celeste," Dr. Reeves's voice came over the comm, filled with concern. "Your neural patterns are reaching dangerous levels. You need to disengage." "We can't," they responded in unison, their voices tight with pain and dedication. "The fleet needs us." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the Shadowblade. "Intruder alert," a security officer shouted. "We have multiple Nexari signatures in sections C through F." Admiral Thax whirled to face Jesse and Celeste. "How is that possible? Our shields are still up." "Advanced quantum tunneling technology," Jesse explained, his words coming in short gasps. "They're after us," Celeste added, her tail lashing with agitation. Before anyone could respond, the bridge doors exploded inward. Through the smoke and debris, a squad of Nexari boarders stormed onto the command deck, their cybernetic limbs jam-packed with deadly weaponry. "Protect the command staff!" General Steele shouted, drawing his sidearm. But Jesse and Celeste were already moving. Their merged consciousness allowed them to anticipate the Nexari's movements with preternatural accuracy. Jesse ducked under a plasma blast, his enhanced reflexes carrying him forward with inhuman speed. Celeste's powerful tail swept two attackers off their feet, while her claws raked across the cybernetic implants of a third. Together, they moved like a perfectly choreographed dance of destruction. Jesse's newly acquired strength shattered a Nexari's mechanical arm, while Celeste's increased agility allowed her to dodge and weave through a hail of energy bolts. As they fought, their shared mind continued to process the larger battle raging outside. A flash of insight struck them both simultaneously. "Admiral!" they called out in unison, their voices rising above the chaos of combat. "We've identified a weakness in the Nexari fleet structure." Thax, taking cover behind a fallen console, shouted back, "What is it?" Jesse launched himself over a Nexari attacker, using its shoulders as a springboard to deliver a devastating kick to another. As he landed, he explained, "The fleet is controlled by a central hub ship, similar to the Void Collective's flagship." Celeste's tail wrapped around the last Nexari boarder's neck, slamming it to the ground. "If we can infiltrate that ship," she continued, "we can use our knowledge of collective tech to shut down their entire fleet." Admiral Thax and General Steele exchanged a look of grim understanding. The risk was enormous, but the potential reward was too great to ignore. "What do you need?" Thax asked, rising from her cover as the last Nexari boarder fell. Jesse and Celeste stood side by side, their transformed bodies still humming with energy from the fight. Their eyes, swirling with blue and gold, met the Admiral's gaze with unwavering willpower. "A small strike team," they said in perfect synchronization, "and away onto that ship." As alarms continued to blare and the battle raged outside, the leaders of the Human-Saurian Alliance prepared to launch their most daring gambit yet. The hope of the universe now rested on the shoulders of two beings who were neither fully human nor Saurian, but something entirely new. Jesse and Celeste, their minds and bodies irrevocably changed, stood ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The true test of their newfound abilities was about to begin. The true test of their newfound abilities was about to unfold in ways they could never have imagined. As Jesse and Celeste stood ready, their merged consciousness already formulating strategies, Admiral Thax quickly assembled a strike team. Within minutes, they were aboard a stealth shuttle, speeding towards the massive Nexari hub ship at the center of the enemy fleet. "Remember," Jesse said, his voice carrying an otherworldly echo, Our primary objective is to reach the main control room. Celeste's scales shimmered as she added, once there, we can use our knowledge of collective tech to shut down their entire fleet. The shuttle weaved through the chaos of battle, narrowly avoiding energy beams and debris. As they approached the hub ship, Jesse and Celeste's shared mind identified a weak point in the Nexari defenses. There, they said in unison, pointing to a small docking port. That's our entry point. With precision born from their enhanced abilities, they guided the shuttle to a perfect docking maneuver. The strike team, led by the Saurian warrior Zixara, moved swiftly through the alien corridors, Jesse and Celeste at the forefront. Their hybrid senses allowed them to navigate the labyrinthine ship with ease, avoiding patrols and choosing the most efficient route to the control room. As they neared their destination, alarms blared throughout the vessel. They've detected us, Zixara hissed, her tail lashing in agitation. Jesse and Celeste exchanged a glance, their swirling blue and gold eyes communicating volumes in an instant. We'll handle this, they said, their voices harmonizing. As the strike team engaged the oncoming Nexari forces, Jesse and Celeste pushed forward. Their movements were a fluid dance of human agility and Saurian strength, effortlessly dispatching any enemy that stood in their way. They burst into the control room, only to find themselves face to face with Supreme Overlord Zinkara, the leader of the Nexari fleet. The cybernetically enhanced being towered over them, its multiple eyes focusing on the pair with cold calculation. So, Zinkara's synthesized voice boomed, the Human-Saurian Alliance sends its hybrid abominations to challenge me. Jesse's fist clenched as Celeste's tail whipped back and forth, their shared mind already analyzing Zinkara's cybernetic enhancements, looking for weaknesses. The Nexari leader struck first, its mechanically augmented limbs moving with blinding speed. Jesse ducked under the first blow, while Celeste's tail swept at Zinkara's legs. The three combatants moved in a blur of motion, the room filled with the sounds of impacts and the crackle of energy discharges. As the battle raged, Jesse and Celeste's merged consciousness allowed them to anticipate and counter Zinkara's every move. They worked in perfect synchronization, one blocking while the other attacked, their hybrid abilities proving to be a match for the Nexari leader's raw power. Celeste's claws raked across Zinkara's cybernetic armor, leaving deep gouges. Jesse, she called out, her voice strained with exertion. I've identified a weakness in its implants. Jesse nodded, understanding immediately through their shared thoughts. He engaged Zinkara in close combat, drawing the Nexari leader's attention, while Celeste made her way to a nearby control terminal. As Jesse grappled with Zinkara, narrowly avoiding its energy blasts and mechanical pincers, Celeste's fingers flew over the alien controls. Their combined knowledge of void collective technology allowed her to quickly navigate the complex systems. Now, Jesse! Celeste shouted. Jesse disengaged from Zinkara, rolling away just as Celeste activated the overload sequence. The room was filled with a blinding flash as the hub ship's power grid surged, the excess energy flowing directly into Zinkara's implants. The Nexari leader convulsed, its cybernetic parts sparking and smoking. As Zinkara collapsed, Jesse and Celeste wasted no time. They rushed to the main control panel, their hands moving in perfect unison as they initiated the shutdown sequence for the entire Nexari fleet. Alarms blared throughout the hub ship as systems began to fail. Jesse and Celeste turned to each other, their transformed bodies still humming with energy from the fight. We did it, Jesse breathed, his voice filled with a mixture of relief and amazement. Celeste nodded, her scales rippling with emotion. But our work here isn't done. As if on cue, the ship shuddered violently. The strike team, led by Zixara, burst into the control room, signs of heavy combat evident on their armor. We need to leave now, Zixara shouted. The Nexari soldiers are in disarray, but they're converging on this location. Jesse and Celeste nodded, their shared mind already plotting the quickest escape route. As they ran through the corridors of the failing hub ship, they could feel the eyes of the strike team on them, a mixture of awe and unease in their gazes. They fought their way back to the shuttle, fending off desperate Nexari soldiers. As they lifted off, watching the hub ship grow smaller in the view screen, Jesse and Celeste felt a strange mix of triumph and uncertainty. Their hybrid state had proven invaluable in the battle, but as the adrenaline faded, they began to fully comprehend the magnitude of their transformation. Their individual memories and personalities continued to intertwine, creating a bond deeper than anything they had ever experienced. As the shuttle docked with the Shadowblade, Admiral Thax was waiting for them, her expression a complex mix of relief, gratitude, and concern. "Well done, both of you," she said, her eyes moving between Jesse and Celeste. "But I think we have much to discuss about your condition." Jesse and Celeste exchanged a glance, their swirling blue and gold eyes communicating volumes. They knew that their greatest challenges lay not on the battlefield, but in the complex web of personal, political, and ethical dilemmas that awaited them. As they stepped onto the Shadowblade, hand in hand, they could feel the weight of countless eyes upon them. Their journey had only just begun, and the true implications of their hybrid existence were yet to unfold. As they stepped off the shuttle, the weight of their recent victory was overshadowed by the uncertainty of their future. Admiral Thax led Jesse and Celeste to a private briefing room, away from the curious stares of the crew. As the door slid shut behind them, the Admiral's stern expression softened slightly. "I won't mince words," she began, her voice low and serious. "What you two have accomplished is nothing short of miraculous, but your transformation raises questions that I'm not equipped to answer." Jesse and Celeste exchanged a glance, their swirling blue and gold eyes communicating volumes in an instant. Celeste's tail twitched nervously as Jesse spoke, his voice carrying an otherworldly echo. "We understand, Admiral. We're still coming to terms with it ourselves." Before Thax could respond, an urgent alert blared through the ship's communication systems. The Admiral's wrist computer lit up, displaying a holographic message. Her eyes widened as she read the contents. "We have a situation," she said, her voice tense. "Report to the observation deck immediately." As they made their way through the corridors of the Shadowblade, Jesse and Celeste could feel the ship's energy shifting. Crew members rushed past them, their faces etched with concern and persistence. The observation deck was a flurry of activity when they arrived. Officers huddled around holographic displays, their voices a cacophony of urgent reports and strategic discussions. Admiral Thax strode to the center of the room, her presence immediately commanding attention. "We've detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of known space," she announced, her voice cutting through the noise. "They've coalesced into a tangible threat." With a wave of her hand, Thax brought up a large holographic display. It showed a massive fleet emerging from a previously undiscovered wormhole. The ships were unlike anything Jesse and Celeste had ever seen, a bizarre fusion of Void Collective and Nexari technology. "They're calling themselves the Convergence," Thax continued, her voice grim. "And they've just broadcast an ultimatum across all channels: surrender or face annihilation." The room erupted into a flurry of voices, but Jesse and Celeste remained silent, their merged consciousness already analyzing the threat. They could sense the fear and uncertainty radiating from the crew, but also a steely drive. Admiral Thax turned to face them, her eyes searching their alien features. "I hate to ask this of you so soon after your last mission, but we need your unique abilities. We need to know more about this convergence." Jesse and Celeste nodded in unison, their decision made before the words left Thax's mouth. "We'll go," they said, their voices harmonizing perfectly. Within hours, they found themselves aboard the Phantom, a sleek stealth ship designed for covert operations. Joining them were Zixara, the Quilarian empath they had fought alongside in previous battles, and Marcus Chen, a skilled human pilot known for his ability to navigate the most treacherous space lanes. As the Phantom slipped away from the Shadowblade, cloaking systems engaged, Jesse and Celeste felt a familiar thrill of anticipation. Their merged consciousness expanded, interfacing with the ship's systems in ways that even its designers hadn't anticipated. The journey to the edge of known space was tense but uneventful. As they approached the Convergence fleet, the true scale of the threat became apparent. Thousands of ships hung in the void, each one a nightmarish fusion of organic and mechanical components. "By the eternal flame," Zixara whispered, her empathic senses overwhelmed by the sheer alienness of the fleet before them. Jesse and Celeste focused their hybrid senses on the nearest ships, probing their defenses and analyzing their structure. What they discovered sent a chill through their merged consciousness. "These ships," Jesse began, his voice tight with concentration. "They're alive," Celeste finished, her scales rippling with unease. Marcus glanced back from the pilot's seat, his face pale. "What do you mean, alive?" "The Convergence has perfected a way to combine organic and mechanical components," Jesse explained, his eyes never leaving the fleet before them. Celeste continued, "It's not just hybridization. These ships are sentient, adaptive. They can heal and evolve in real time." As they delved deeper into their analysis, a familiar energy signature caught their attention. It emanated from the Convergence flagship, a behemoth that dwarfed even the largest ships in the human-Saurian alliance. Jesse and Celeste's merged mind recoiled in shock as they recognized the source. "It can't be," they whispered in unison. "What is it?" Zixara asked, her empathic abilities picking up on their distress. "Supreme Overlord Zinkara," Jesse said, his voice barely above a whisper. "But that's impossible," Marcus interjected. "You defeated him on the Nexari hub ship." Celeste's tail lashed in agitation as she explained, "He survived. Somehow he's integrated his consciousness into the flagship itself." Before they could process this revelation, alarms blared throughout the Phantom. The ship's stealth systems flickered and died, leaving them exposed to the watchful eyes of the Convergence fleet. "We've been detected!" Marcus shouted, his hands flying over the controls as he tried to reinitialize the cloaking device. Jesse and Celeste moved as one, their hybrid physiology allowing them to interface directly with the Phantom's systems. They poured their combined energy into the ship's defenses, creating a shield of pure willpower as the first volley of Convergence weapons fire streaked towards them. The Phantom shuddered under the assault, but Jesse and Celeste's improvised shields held. They could feel the strain on their bodies, their hybrid form pushed to its limits. "We need to get out of here," Zixara urged, her empathic abilities sensing the focused malevolence directed at them from the Convergence flagship. Jesse and Celeste exchanged a look, their swirling eyes communicating a dangerous plan. Without a word, they deepened their connection to the Phantom's systems, pushing the ship beyond its design specifications. The small stealth vessel moved with impossible grace, weaving through gaps in the Convergence formation that shouldn't have existed. Energy beams and plasma bolts filled the space around them, but none found their mark. As they executed their daring escape, Jesse and Celeste made a startling discovery. The Convergence fleet moved with uncanny coordination, responding to their maneuvers almost instantaneously. "There's a neural network," Celeste said, her voice strained with effort. Jesse nodded, understanding immediately through their shared thoughts. "It's like the Void Collective's hive mind, but more advanced." In that moment, they knew what they had to do. It was risky, potentially catastrophic, but the information they could gain was too valuable to ignore. "What are you doing?" Marcus asked, alarm evident in his voice as he sensed the ship's systems changing around him. Jesse and Celeste didn't respond. Their merged consciousness reached out, brushing against the vast neural network that connected the Convergence fleet. For a fraction of a second, they opened their minds, allowing the alien data to flood in. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Information cascaded through their hybrid minds, threatening to overwhelm them. They saw flashes of the Convergence's plans, their technologies, their ultimate goal of forcibly upgrading all sentient life in the galaxy. As quickly as it began, the connection was severed. Jesse and Celeste fell back, their bodies convulsing as they struggled to process the vast amount of data they'd acquired. "We need to get back to the Alliance," they gasped in unison, their voices filled with urgency. "Now!" Marcus needed no further encouragement. The Phantom shot forward, pushing its enhanced engines to the limit as they raced back to friendly space. As the adrenaline of their escape faded, Jesse and Celeste became aware of subtle changes in their hybrid form. Their bodies had shifted, adapted in response to the brief contact with the Convergence's neural network. They exchanged a worried glance, knowing that this latest evolution would raise even more questions among their allies. The Phantom streaked towards the human-Saurian defensive line, carrying vital intelligence that could turn the tide of the impending war. But as they approached, Jesse and Celeste knew that the information they carried was both a blessing and a curse. They had seen the true face of the enemy, but at what cost to themselves? As the familiar silhouette of the Shadow Blade grew larger in their view screen, Jesse and Celeste steeled themselves for the challenges ahead. They had crossed a new threshold in their transformation, and the consequences were yet to be fully understood. The scrutiny of their leaders, the fear of their allies, and the weight of the galactic realm's future pressed down upon them as they prepared to make their report and face an uncertain future. Future pressed down upon them as they prepared to make their report and face an uncertain reception. As the Phantom docked with the Shadow Blade, Jesse and Celeste braced themselves for the reaction their new appearance would inevitably provoke. The airlock hissed open, and they stepped out into a sea of stunned faces. Crew members recoiled, some reaching for weapons instinctively. "Stand down!" Admiral Thax's voice cut through the tension. She strode forward, her eyes widening as she took in the sight before her. Jesse and Celeste stood hand in hand, their bodies a striking fusion of human and saurian features. Iridescent scales shimmered across patches of human skin, and their eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. General Marcus Steele appeared at Thax's side, his expression a mix of awe and concern. "What happened out there?" he asked, his voice low and urgent. Before Jesse or Celeste could respond, Thax raised a hand. "Not here. Secure briefing room now." As they moved through the corridors, whispers and stares followed in their wake. Jesse could feel Celeste's tail twitch nervously against his leg, a sensation that was both alien and comfortingly familiar through their shared consciousness. Once inside the briefing room, Thax activated the privacy shields. "Report!" she commanded, her voice tense. Jesse and Celeste spoke in perfect unison, their merged minds allowing them to convey the intelligence they'd gathered with unprecedented clarity. They detailed the Convergence's vast neural network, the living ships, and the chilling revelation of Zinkara's survival and integration with the flagship. As they spoke, holographic displays sprang to life around them, showcasing the alien technology and battle formations with a level of detail that left Thax and Steele speechless. "This is remarkable," Steele said, studying a 3D rendering of a convergent ship. "But how did you access this information?" Jesse and Celeste exchanged a glance, their swirling eyes communicating volumes in an instant. "We briefly connected to their neural network," Celeste explained. "It was a risk," Jesse added, "but one we had to take." Thax's expression darkened. "And your transformation? Is that a result of this connection?" Before they could answer, the door slid open, and Dr. Elena Reeves rushed in, medical scanner in hand. "Admiral, I need to examine them immediately," she insisted. For the next hour, Jesse and Celeste underwent a battery of tests. Dr. Reeves's initial shock at their appearance gave way to fascination as she pored over the results. "It's extraordinary," she announced finally. "Their DNA has stabilized into a perfect hybrid of human and saurian genetics, with traces of Void Collective and Nexari markers. The level of integration is unlike anything I've ever seen." "And the risks?" Thax pressed. Dr. Reeves shook her head. "Unknown. Their physical abilities and cognitive capacity have been significantly enhanced, but the long-term effects are impossible to predict." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the ship. Steele's wrist computer lit up with an urgent message. "The Galactic Council is convening an emergency session," he reported grimly. "They want answers about the convergence threat and about you too." The council chamber was a cacophony of shouted arguments and demands when they arrived. Counselor Vexthor, the Calarian representative, called for order as Jesse and Celeste entered. "What are we dealing with here?" demanded Counselor Jar Rock, his reptilian features contorted in a scowl. "Are they even still human and saurian, or have they become something else entirely?" "We are still ourselves," Jesse assured them, his voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. "But we have evolved," Celeste added. "Our abilities could be the key to defeating the convergence." The debate raged on, with some council members calling for their immediate quarantine, while others recognized the potential advantage their unique abilities could provide. Amidst the chaos, Jesse and Celeste retreated into their shared consciousness. The depth of their connection had grown stronger, allowing them to experience each other's emotions and memories with startling clarity. It was an intimacy beyond anything they had known before, both exhilarating and terrifying in its intensity. "Are we losing ourselves?" Jesse's thought echoed in their merged mind. "No," Celeste responded, her mental voice filled with fierce dedication. "We're becoming something greater together." Their internal dialogue was interrupted by a deafening alarm. Long-range sensors had detected the Convergence fleet entering the solar system. In an instant, the council chamber transformed from an arena of debate to a war room. Admiral Thax took command, barking orders as tactical displays materialized around them. "We need every advantage we can get," she announced, turning to Jesse and Celeste. "Are you ready to lead our defense?" They nodded in unison, their merged consciousness already formulating strategies. Within minutes, they were aboard the Synergy, a command ship specially modified to interface with their hybrid physiology. As Jesse and Celeste connected to the ship's systems, their consciousness expanded exponentially. Suddenly, they were aware of every vessel in the Allied fleet, every weapon, every crew member. The Convergence fleet loomed before them, a vast armada of biotechnological nightmares. Jesse and Celeste's merged mind processed tactical data at lightning speed, coordinating the Allied forces with unparalleled efficiency. Energy weapons blazed across the void as the battle was joined. Fighter squadrons swarmed like angry insects, weaving between capital ships engaged in titanic duels. Through it all, Jesse and Celeste guided the Allied fleet, their hybrid nature allowing them to anticipate and counter the Convergence's adaptive tactics. But the strain was immense. Jesse could feel Celeste's pain as if it were his own, their shared body trembling under the enormous mental load. Sweat beaded on their scaled skin as they pushed themselves to the limit. Just as it seemed they might gain the upper hand, a massive energy signature erupted from the Convergence flagship. Zinkara had unleashed his ultimate weapon, a pulse designed to forcibly merge organic and mechanical components across the entire battlefield. In that moment of crisis, Jesse and Celeste made a risky move. Drawing on their knowledge of Void Collective and Nexari technology, they channeled the energy of the entire Allied fleet through their hybrid form. The Synergy became a focal point of blinding light as a protective field enveloped the human Saurian forces. The assimilation pulse washed over them, but their ships and crews remained unaffected. As the energy surge subsided, Jesse and Celeste collapsed to the deck, their bodies racked with pain. When they struggled to their feet, they realized that another transformation had occurred. Their separate forms had begun to merge, the line between human and Saurian blurring even further. Through the view screen, they could see the Convergence flagship at the heart of the enemy formation. In that moment, they knew what had to be done. "Plot a course for the flagship," they commanded in perfect unison, their voice resonating with newfound power. "We're ending this now." The Synergy surged forward, its enhanced systems pushing past their limits. As they closed in on their target, Jesse and Celeste prepared for the final confrontation. Their merged form radiated with energy, a perfect synthesis of human and Saurian traits. Weapons fire from the Convergence fleet intensified, but the Synergy danced through the barrage. With a final burst of speed, they breached the flagship's outer defenses, crash landing in a cavernous hangar bay. As Jesse and Celeste emerged from the Synergy, they could feel the malevolent presence of Zinkara all around them. The ship itself seemed to pulse with dark energy, a reflection of the twisted being at its core. Hand in hand, their bodies now more alike than different, Jesse and Celeste strode deeper into the heart of the flagship. The final battle for the destiny of the universe was about to begin, and they faced it not as two individuals, but as something entirely new, a union of species and consciousness that the universe had never seen before. As they approached the massive central chamber, Jesse and Celeste's merged consciousness expanded, interfacing seamlessly with the flagship systems. The walls pulsed with an eerie biomechanical energy, guiding them through the labyrinthine corridors. The chamber doors parted with a sickening squelch, revealing a vast spherical space. At its center, suspended in a crackling field of energy, hovered the twisted form of Zinkara. No longer recognizable as the Nexari leader they had once fought, his body had become a grotesque fusion of organic tissue and advanced machinery. Zinkara's voice reverberated through the chamber, a cacophony of mechanical screeches and organic growls. "You dare challenge the convergence in its own sanctum?" Before Jesse and Celeste could respond, a wave of psychic energy slammed into them. The assault threatened to tear their merged minds apart, but their bond held firm. Their shared consciousness acted as an impenetrable shield, deflecting the worst of the attack. "Your tricks won't work on us, Zinkara," they spoke in unison, their voice carrying an otherworldly resonance. "We've evolved beyond your comprehension." Drawing on their combined knowledge of Void Collective, Nexari, and convergence technology, Jesse and Celeste launched a counterattack. Their hybrid form moved with incredible speed and agility, dodging energy blasts and lashing tendrils of living metal. They struck back with precision, targeting weak points in Zinkara's defenses. Each blow disrupted his connection to the ship's systems, causing cascading failures throughout the flagship. As the battle raged on, Jesse and Celeste realized the true scope of their challenge. Defeating Zinkara alone wouldn't be enough to stop the convergence. Its neural network was too vast, too interconnected to be shut down by force. In a moment of shared clarity, they formulated a daring plan. Instead of destroying the convergence, they would transform it from within. Jesse and Celeste ceased their physical assault and stood motionless in the center of the chamber. Zinkara, sensing their vulnerability, intensified his attacks. Energy beams scorched the air around them, and metallic tendrils lashed at their hybrid form. But the couple remained still, their eyes closed in deep concentration. They opened their minds fully to the ship's neural network, allowing their unique hybrid consciousness to flow through the entire convergence fleet. Zinkara's eyes widened in horror as he realized their intent. "No! You cannot undo what I have created." He unleashed the full power of the flagship, causing the ship to begin tearing itself apart. Massive bulkheads groaned and buckled, and arcs of energy crackled across the chamber's surfaces. Jesse and Celeste stood their ground, their physical forms shifting and adapting to withstand the onslaught. Their merged being, a perfect balance of individuality and unity, rewrote the very nature of the convergence's hive mind. Throughout the enemy fleet, ships began to power down as their crews were freed from Zinkara's control. The forced hybridization process reversed, allowing individuals to regain their sense of self while retaining the benefits of their enhanced forms. In the flagship's central chamber, Zinkara's form began to disintegrate. His connection to the convergence slipped away, leaving him thrashing in impotent rage. With a final burst of effort, Jesse and Celeste separated Zinkara's consciousness from the ship's systems. The once tyrannical leader reverted to his original Nexari form, stripped of his enhancements and power. As the transformation of the convergence completed, Jesse and Celeste's merged form began to stabilize. They found themselves able to shift between their fully merged state and their individual human and saurian forms at will. The flagship, no longer under Zinkara's control, ceased its self-destruction. Jesse and Celeste used their connection to the ship's systems to initiate repairs and plot a course back to the human-saurian alliance fleet. As they approached friendly space, they saw the rest of the transformed convergence following peacefully behind them. The vast armada, once a terrifying force of destruction, now represented a new hope for unity and understanding. Admiral Thax's voice crackled over the comms. "Jesse? Celeste? Is that you? What's happened out there?" They responded together, their voices harmonizing perfectly. "The convergence has been transformed, Admiral. The war is over." As the flagship docked with the Shadow Blade, Jesse and Celeste prepared to face their allies. They knew that their unique nature, once a source of fear and suspicion, would now be seen in a new light. The airlock hissed open, revealing the anxious faces of Admiral Thax, General Steele, and Counselor Vexithor. Jesse and Celeste stepped forward, hand in hand, their hybrid form radiating an aura of peace and unity. Admiral Thax's expression shifted from concern to awe. "By the stars," she whispered, "what have you become?" Jesse and Celeste smiled, their eyes swirling with otherworldly energy. "We've become what the galaxy needs," they said. "A bridge between species, a symbol of what can be achieved through cooperation and understanding." As they began to explain the transformation of the convergence, they knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy stood on the brink of a new era, and they would play a crucial role in shaping its future. Behind them, the first of the liberated convergence ships began to dock. Former enemies, now allies, prepared to take their first steps into a new, unified galactic society. The challenges ahead were numerous, but for the first time in ages, the future looked bright. Jesse and Celeste exchanged a glance, their merged consciousness brimming with shared purpose. They had transcended the boundaries of individual species, and in doing so, had opened up possibilities beyond imagination. As they turned to face the gathering crowd of humans, saurians, and newly freed convergence members, they knew that their greatest adventure was just beginning.
If you finished this story, please subscribe and like the video. Then leave a comment that says, "I liked the story," and I will heart every single one of them. It really helps me. Thank you for your time.